Hi, this is Vess, and I'm here with my friend Yulia. Hi, Yulia.
Hi, nice to meet everybody.
So she's the founder of StraightFwd Company, which is a digital marketing agency. And I want to welcome you. And if you wouldn't mind, please take a little bit of time to tell our audience about who you are and more specifically your experience and successes as a business owner.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Bess. I'm a digital marketer and the founder and chief truth talker at StraightFwd Company. That was a venture I started more than 5 years ago, a little bit in defiance of my marketing career in corporate world. I just got fed up with, creative freedoms, not being like just you kind of limited when you work in corporate. And also I just felt like in South Florida here where you and I are, the world was moving very slow compared to like the innovations that were happening. So I started my own thing as just an idea, and a couple of years later I was able to scale it into a successful business. But I gotta say, I was 3 years later after I started the agency, I was working from an office in West Palm Beach. I had a team of 4 people. We were serving some large, South Florida local companies and some smaller players, but I wasn't happy. I was working, 70 plus hours a week. I was constantly like on call, never really had days off anymore. And I just didn't see myself in this role. I ran away from corporate because I wasn't happy with my freedoms. And then here again, I was doing it again. And so in 2019, I had this crazy idea that I needed to kind of find myself and find my passion for what I do, which is digital marketing. And so I decided I'm going to move my team to a fully remote environment, close the office, and go on a year-long road trip in my car and just live out of Airbnbs all over the United States and do my work. And I didn't know how that's going to work. I didn't know if my clients would be okay with it, but I did it for the last year. And now I'm so happy with my life. And I just bought a van, a Sprinter van. I'm converting that to be my full-time tiny home on wheels.
Oh my God, that is so cool. So you're going to be like a nomad digital marketer.
Yes, that's what I've been doing for a year and a half now, and I love it, and I can't wait to continue.
That is so neat. And you get to travel everywhere and work from anywhere you want.
Pretty much, yeah.
Wow. I'm a little jealous, I must say. How cool.
Well,
Well,
you can do it too.
I know, right? Well, obviously, with you building this business, I mean, it took a lot. Did you have to overcome certain fears, I would imagine?
Absolutely. I think for me is when I started my business 5 years ago, one of the things I got really busy with is just getting involved in the city. I lived in West Palm Beach and Delray Beach at that time, so I was networking almost every night. All my breakfasts were scheduled, like coffee with a person that I wanted to meet and ask them questions, because I really believe people are mentors. And so I was doing all that, and I had this support circle. I was running Creative Mornings Palm Beach, which is a monthly meetup for creative community, and we had 100 people show up every month. And I had this identity of being a very like active person in my community. And then my decision had to be giving all that up. That was probably the biggest challenge, is to walk away from something, not really knowing where you're headed. But that was the only way I could grow. And in retrospect, I'm so glad I did it, because I didn't know this was going to be a whole metamorphosis. I had this like inkling idea that I had to do the road trip, and I didn't know how my business was going to do. I didn't know how I was going to make it out there by myself without my support circle. But then I did it, and now looking back at that year and a half on the road and learning and meeting new people, getting new opportunities, learning new skills, and really making connections now all over the map, that has taught me that screw fear. Just if you have an idea, you have to go for it. You just don't even know what's outside of that comfort zone.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you. So we're still kind of in this whole COVID situation. If you had to start all over again from scratch, what would the process be in launching your company?
Absolutely. Well, the first thing I would do is when you start on something, it's such a scary project, right? You have to, I'm sure you're also like a one-woman show in the beginning, right? When you get us into a startup world, you're like, okay, I need to do this, this, and this, and the list just blows up, right? So it's like hiking up a mountain, but hoping the summit is there, but you don't even see the summit, and you start freaking out. You start thinking about turning around and give up, right? That's how startup life feels. And so for me, the first thing I would tell myself is just one step at a time. Calm down, stop thinking so big and being paralyzed by fear, right? Because you have no idea how to accomplish all this mountain of things that you need to do. But if you just every day you ask yourself, okay, what is the one thing I'm going to do today? And you stick to that, you get that done. And then the next day you wake up, you're like, what is it, the thing that I'm going to do today to get me closer to my goal? That's literally how I did my entire business when I first started. That's how I planned my 2019 road trip. And that's how I've been doing my van build, because I don't even know how to use a screwdriver back in December. And now I'm using power tools like it's nothing, you know? So one step at a time, that would be where I'll be starting. And then the other thing is, people are so afraid of failure, you know? You probably have heard it before, like your friends, I have this idea, I want to do it, but then I don't know how, I don't know where to start, I'm scared I'll fail. Well, and then like none of those ideas ever materialize, right? So one of the things is you gotta fail fast and fail often, and then you gotta learn from every single time. There have been so many times where I started on a project or I picked up a client that I knew nothing about the industry. And, you know, there were missteps, but I learned along the way, because I always said, you know, what is like the worst thing that can happen if I do this, if I try this? And then I would like visualize the worst case scenario, and the reality is never that bad. And then you think about it and you're like, if that happens, it's not even that bad. You can always reverse course. You can always, you know, pivot. And so I feel like that's just a great analogy for life, like one step at a time, and don't be so scared to try.
I love that. What a great advice. Thank you.
Yeah.
So you're in digital marketing. Do you have some tips, little golden nuggets you can give our audience?
Absolutely. So my agency, we specialize originally in organic content and storytelling. So we would manage brand social media channels, and then we would also do advertising. So like running Facebook ads and Instagram ads. Here's the thing. Everybody's a digital marketer nowadays. You're one, I'm one. Everybody has something to sell, whether it's a product, a service, or whatever, right? And so it's a very competitive world. Right now, we live in the age of authenticity. That's the only thing that matters. If you really want people to notice you, buy from you, hear your story, you got to like put that out there, be totally yourself. Don't try to be the next Gary Vee or Tony Robbins or Grant Cardone. Like, be yourself, show up, give something back to your audience. Like, there is no better time to just start being like the kindness person that gives back, because when you give back, people come back to you, right? They respect you, they learn from you, they admire you, and when they need you, they think of you. And so that is something that I recommend for anybody who's thinking about starting a brand, launching a business. How can you help others? What can you do for others that will help them? You lift them up, you inspire them, you motivate them, right? And then see all that labor that you've put into that giving come back at you and help your business scale.
I love that. You know, you definitely mentioned something important, being authentic. I think that's the biggest part that plays into digital marketing nowadays, more and more so. I mean, people really want to see who you truly are. And I think that's why I've noticed, even with my businesses, when I just simply record myself, people tend to engage more than when I do it very staged.
Exactly.
So that's good. I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah.
Of course. Thank you for sharing that too.
Yeah. So define success for me. What does success mean to you?
To me personally, it's always been freedom. I think there's like a recurring pattern in all of my stories, is that I never wanted to be tied down to a thing, a place, you know. I wanted to like play life by my own rules and not have to like fit into any mold. I'm just by nature, I'm kind of like a black sheep. I don't really fit into like the social norms. Like, I want to live in a van, right? Who does that? But I always felt like there is no one right way of doing things. And so whatever it is that speaks to you, whatever you want to be, like, don't let people talk you out of it. Don't let people, you know, tell you it's a stupid idea. Like, try it out for yourself. And I think it's the biggest thing I discovered in 2019 during my journey is that I had to learn who I am. I had to learn like who I really am spiritually, mentally, because you live in this world, right? And you're given this identity, and you, every time you like accomplish like little accolades, you just add to that identity more and more. And then you believe that you are this person, that you are this entity that you've created, but those are just nothing but a collection of your ideas. So I really think that we all have a responsibility to take a deeper dive into our soul, into who we are, to determine how we can serve the world better, right? And then we have to do that. We have to go deep to discover ourselves so we can go and shine and share our magic.
You know, that's great that you mentioned this, because I think more and more people are starting to be aware over the last year and a half,
Yeah.
and opening up to learning who they are and understanding themselves. I mean, I know I've gone through that process, and I go through it every few years, but you have to do a reset. You absolutely have to. So
Yeah. And I
yeah,
think right now is COVID, right? Being a place that's changed all of the certainties, right? We can't cling on to anything anymore. You have to really find peace and you know, in the midst of this chaos. Otherwise you're gonna just drive yourself crazy. So it's a great opportunity for anybody who is like, I don't really know what I'm doing with my life. Like to sit down, go deeper, reevaluate, because we have the time right now. We have the opportunity. So it's like no excuse, you know, go find what is it that you're passionate about.
exactly. That's absolutely right. So I have one more question for you.
Okay.
We all have routines. What does your morning routine look like to keep you in that energy and that mindset of success throughout your day with your business and your personal life?
Absolutely. That's a great question. I'm all about mental health, like a huge thing for me. It's just making time for me, and I don't like to rush. So I'm always getting, you know, at least 7.5, 8 hours of sleep. I go to sleep pretty early, like around 10:30, and I wake up early. So like by 6 a.m. I'm out. I always have my tea in the morning. I don't drink coffee. I'm one of those people. I love tea, and I have a whole collection of them. And you know, I love to spend some time in the morning meditating, maybe doing a little yoga stretch, or going for a walk. If I'm out in nature, like I can't wait to get back on the road. In the morning, I would wake up and I would go take my dog and we would go for like an hour hike. Nothing hard, nothing fancy, but it would just be beautiful and you take in all the nature. And I feel like that's why I find most of my peace and serenity is like out there, out, you know, fresh air, beautiful surroundings. So that really helps me. And right now I'm in Florida, so you know it's really hot. It's like 95 degrees hot outside, so you can't really do that. But in the evenings, after my work day is over, I usually spend like an hour on a patio just reading once the sun starts to go down, or doing some research on things that are my hobbies and passions, you know, such as like the new song or the next DIY project I'm doing.
That's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Self-care is so important.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
Do you have any other tips, or would you like to say anything else to our audience before we wrap up?
Sure. I think some of the things that professionally, like what I do in my life right now, you know, is helping businesses really create a story that take something that's very personal and put that into their business, because people don't buy, you know, from brands, they buy from people, right? And so you and I know that because we are the faces of our businesses, but a lot of people who have products or services, they kind of hide behind. So I think that if I can give one tip back to the audience is, you have to come out there, you have to take off the mask, you have to show up truly and authentically. If you look around the world right now, like you are starting to see that CEOs of companies and founders of companies have like a celebrity status. I'm not saying you should aim for that, but it's really important to be, you know, to stand up to the vision that you've created for your brand, so people know who's behind that. So we talked about authenticity a little bit, but I think it's super important for people to create a personal brand, you know, talk about what you're passionate about, talk about why you started, share elements of your story that inspired the journey, and also stories of other people who, you know, who are doing their thing and making an impact on the world. I think if that's one thing I could give to somebody when they're just getting started, is just show up and be you.
Love that. Where can we find you online? How can people connect with you?
Sure. My main channel is Instagram. I'm Many Soulful Miles. I'm also on YouTube, Many Soulful Miles. And my website is manysoulfulmiles.com, and it's linked to all of my business and other personal entities.
Wonderful. Yulia, thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview with us today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Wes. This was awesome, and I totally appreciate the opportunity to share my story and can't wait to see all the other stories that you're featuring.
Thank you. And I'm going to follow you so I can see all your traveling.
Likewise, we'll keep in touch.
Thank you.